Hi, it's Stacy from FamiliesWithGrace.com, and I wanted to talk with you today about cyber safety. I have 15 cyber safety tips for you and your family today that will help you stay safe when you are online. So these tips actually come a lot from a cybersecurity expert who I very much trust. He is a father of two, and he also happens to be married to me. So I talked with my husband for this post and made sure that I knew what I was talking about, that he gave me some information, and he also gave me information on some of the things that we do for our own family, things that I knew that we do but didn't know all of the details about. So he gave me the down low on all of those things, and I'm happy to share those with you, and hopefully they can help keep your family safe as well. Because parenting in the age of technology is a little bit different. I grew up as a child in the 1980s and 1990s, and my parents didn't really have to deal with technology rules for us because technology was not a part of everyday, all the time life. That is not true for my kids. Technology is with them all the time, everywhere, and has been from the time they were in preschool and even toddlers. I mean, it just is a constant. It's something that they use at school, something that they use at home, and definitely something that we have to deal with. So my husband and I are kind of having to forge our own way. It's not something that we can draw from our own experiences in childhood and how our parents handled things, like other parenting issues can be. This is something all new. It's new territory that we have been figuring out along the way and doing our best to make sure that our family stays safe when we are talking about online things. Because we can't just shield our children from the internet and from technology. That's just not practical or reasonable, feasible, any of those things in today's world. So we have some things that we do to help keep our families safe. We all know very basic things that are important to do when it comes to cyber safety, but we want to make sure that we are enforcing those in our homes and talking with our children about them. So let's get started on our 15 tips that we have. Number 1 starts with you, the parent. So we need to be aware of what we post about our children online. I know parents totally get the bum rap for everything. We get blamed for all of the problems and all of the things, but there really is some truth to that when it comes to what we're posting about our children online, and we want to make sure that we are keeping them safe. So you might be using social media as your outlet to post about different things going on, but be aware that what you post about your kids can impact them and affect their safety. That's not something any of us want, right? We want to make sure that our kids are staying safe. So I have some strict rules in place for my family that we all adhere to. For example, I don't share on any public platform our specific location, the name of my children's school, or even the full names of my children. I'm very protective of their information and of their photographs. I try to always consider how what I post could impact my kids if the wrong person got that information. And I assume the wrong person will get any information I post publicly in order to keep myself on track. So definitely think about things before you post them about your children to make sure you're not giving away identifying information that could actually cause harm to your children, or giving away information that could then impact your children negatively later on if they read it or if their friends read it or things like that. We just want to be very careful on what we are saying online about our kids. All right, our second tip is to set up their email accounts to go to yours as well. So one of the settings offered in Gmail and pretty much any email service that you use is mail forwarding. So our daughter, who is 13, has been using her email address for the last couple of years. The rule from the beginning has been that all messages sent to her are forwarded also to her dad's email address. She does not get anything that he does not get as well. And while we trust her, we also want to be aware of what she's doing and with whom she's interacting. The biggest thing we found with getting her emails is what kind of things she's signing up for online, which is important. And also just making sure that she's not signing up for too many things and giving out her email address way too much, things like that. Number 3, check their direct messages. Okay, so teens do still email. I know that they do sometimes, but they do a whole lot more when it comes to direct messaging. For any account that our daughter has, she must give us her username and password so that we can check in on it regularly. Right now, the only social media that she has and uses and is interested in is Pinterest. So she and I are connected, so I can see her boards, but I also have her login and can go in and check her things and see what she is doing and with whom she's interacting. For a while, especially during quarantine, she got really into this writing app that I didn't use at all. So what I did is I just installed the app on my phone and I logged into the app like I was her with her username and password. So anytime she got a notification that she got a direct message, anything like that, I got it as well. So I was able to monitor that and make sure that she was staying, safe and not making any bad decisions or being influenced negatively in any way. Number 4. Utilize not Kids YouTube. It is YouTube Kids. We call it Kids YouTube in our house, but the actual name is YouTube Kids. So kids love videos. I mean, I don't know, maybe yours don't, but mine totally do. And pretty much every kid I know loves videos. So YouTube Kids is a great way to let them have access to those videos without having to worry as much. I'm not saying don't check them, do. But you can have you can relax a little bit with it. So both of our kids started with YouTube Kids, and only in the last probably year or two, we have let our daughter have access to regular YouTube. And while it isn't completely locked down, YouTube Kids keeps the content mostly child-friendly and can help you keep your kids from accidentally or intentionally getting onto a video that is inappropriate. No matter, either way, whether they're on YouTube Kids or regular YouTube, periodically check their search history and the videos that they're watching. Watch them yourself, see what the content is about. For example, last year, my daughter was talking to me about a pastor that she was watching on YouTube that she was really enjoying, and which that sounds like a really good thing. But I also know that there are pastors out there who are preaching messages that are not things that I agree with and not things that are biblically sound. So I headed over and checked out some of the videos that she had been watching to see what was going on. And it turns out she was watching Sarah Jakes Roberts, who we've been very blessed by. She's teaching biblically sound content, and we just have really been blessed by her videos. So the two of us even went to go see her in person when she came to a city near us. But if my daughter had been watching someone else that would not have been as good, I could have caught it and snapped it and talked to her about why this person was not talking about good things and how it was not biblically sound and all of those things. But fortunately that was not the issue, but I want to make sure I'm checking in so that does not become an issue either. All right, number 5 goes right along with it. Know their passwords. Anything that requires a login and password is something our kids are required to give to us as well. Excuse me. If there's ever a question, a problem, an issue, or a need to do a random check, we can do so. And the same is true for their devices. If they have a lock screen, we need to know the passcode to get in. We have not had an issue with our kids. Really, it's just our 13-year-old the most right now, with having her not share this information with us and keeping us updated. But if we did, the consequence is loss of technology. We do not mess around when it comes to this. And when it comes to cyber safety tips, one of the most important things for both adults and kiddos is to keep passwords protected. Find a system that works for you. My husband really trusts Bitwarden to manage passwords, and so that's what I use as well. I like it because you can install it as an extension on your web browser. So I have it on my laptop, but then I can also have it as an app on my phone. And it has a master password that you use to get into it. Make sure you have that be kind of complex so that's not easy to hack into. And then that way I have all of my passwords and all of my kids' passwords saved in one spot that I'm able to go to, and it fills it in and I'm able to use it. So that's a really great resource is to find a password manager. And I do recommend Bitwarden. It's completely free. I have zero affiliation with Bitwarden, but it's just worked really well for my family. Number 6, pick the correct usernames. So usernames for apps and games are public. Help your kids choose an appropriate username that does not reveal personal information. Our rule is that usernames cannot include their real name in any way. My daughter uses her favorite fictional characters to comprise her usernames. And we have also used variations of favorite animals. Just find something. Regardless, definitely do not allow usernames that include their name or their full name, especially for games, apps, or social media. That's definitely a very important thing to help keep your kids safe online. Number 7, approve of their profile photos. Many apps and programs also require a profile photo, even if it is not social media. So be sure to approve of your child's profile photo for apps before they post them. Our rule is that photos of themselves are typically not allowed. There are so many fun alternatives they can use instead. In fact, my daughter's Pinterest profile picture is a funny meme. So just find something that is not too revealing about them, like showing where they are, what school they go to, things like that. And make sure that you're keeping them safe in that regard with their profile photos. Number 8, talk about liars online. Okay, so this is something that probably most adults know, right? We know the people who are on the internet may not be who they're portraying themselves to be. But believe it or not, our kids really do need to know this too. Like, it's not something that they just naturally think of. They tend to not be so naturally jaded because they haven't had the experiences to do so. So it's definitely important to talk about stranger danger and talk about how the person who is telling you they're a big fan of the same book series that you are and pretending like they're a 13 or 14-year-old girl may actually be a 32-year-old man with bad intentions. You just don't know. So you have to be very careful when you're talking with people online and how you are interacting with them and the information that you are giving to them. So we want to make sure that our kids have this information. I know we've talked about this with my daughter many times. My son is not quite old enough for this to be relevant yet. And she gets a little bit tired of hearing it, I'm sure, but it doesn't matter. We keep reiterating it to make sure that she remembers this lesson because it's very, very, very important. Number 9, remind your kids of the permanence of online content. So it's just like what we talked about when we post about our kiddos. We all need to know that what we post is always online. Even if we delete it, someone can access it. In fact, that's kind of part of what my husband is trained to do in his work as a certified ethical hacker. These are the kinds of things that he can do, and he uses his as a positive way to help companies, but there are people that do not use their skills positively by any means. So my husband's philosophy when it comes to posting things online is he assumes that anything he posts will eventually become public. Is that true? Maybe not always, but even if he's posting just to his friends or whatever, he makes sure that he's not posting anything that he would be embarrassed about or would be in danger of if it were shared publicly. So kind of keeping that in the back of your head is a good idea too, just to make sure that you're being aware of what you're posting is not too personal and you're not oversharing about yourself and especially about your children. Number 10. Utilize filters and device managers. So this has been a really big one that's very important in our family. So figuring out what to use for filters and device managers can be a challenge. And I'm not sure, I feel very overwhelmed by the whole thing. But fortunately, I do have a cybersecurity husband who is on it. And I'm thankful for that because he has been able to do some research and he knows. And I cannot tell you for sure what is best, but I can tell you what works really well for us. And both of our options that we really like are free. And I'm also not affiliated with any of them, just a heads up. Our kids' computers have Microsoft Family Safety installed on them, and that filters internet content and generates reports. But what we use the absolute most is Google Family Link. It works for both Apple and Android devices. We are an Android family, but we have used Apple devices too, but it works for either. I did double check that. And that includes Chromebooks as well. So this allows us to see what our kids are doing on their device. We can set time limits and we can prohibit them from installing apps, even free ones, without having password protected permission from us. The time limits include being able to set the time that their device is shut down. For example, our son's tablet is set so that he cannot use it before 7 a.m. or after 7:30 p.m. And we can go in and modify that, for a one-time instance or ongoing situation. But for the most part, that is what it is locked down, and that is how we manage it. And it comes in handy. We really have used that. It's called Moonlock. So we do that quite often, and that's been a really good help for our family. And that brings us to number 11, which goes right along with it. And do not allow your kids to install apps without permission. So I do trust my kiddos, and neither of them have ever given me any reason to not trust them with technology. But for right now, neither of them are allowed to install apps on their devices without permission from us. And through Google Family Link, their devices are set so any app installed on their phone, on their device, on their tablet, whatever, requires password protected permission from us. The biggest reason that we have this policy in place is to keep them from installing apps that will fill up their devices or are otherwise spammy and junky. However, it also serves to make sure they cannot install nefarious apps to hide things. I know there will come a point at which they are allowed to be responsible for their own app management, but right now they're 9 and 13, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. Number 12, keep passwords and passcodes secret. So this is a good, important lesson for our children that we need to make sure we're talking with them about as well. Because our kids want to be good friends and they want to trust their friends, and they should be able to. But they also do need to understand that sharing passwords and passcodes is not okay. In order to stay safe online, our kids' devices and accounts need to be controlled by them and us. Allowing anyone else access to them is just asking for trouble. Which brings us to number 13. Don't let friends have free reign on devices. It goes right along with protecting passwords. Nobody else should have free reign on our kiddos' devices. Again, friends should be trustworthy, but not everyone has the same rules and standards for cyber safety, even within their families. So their friends may not have the same rules that our kids have. For example, a couple of years ago, a friend of my daughter's nabbed her tablet and started messaging with someone on that same writing app that my daughter was using. Our rule is that our daughter could not use her name on that writing app at all, not even if she's messaging with someone. She could not use her real name in any way. But her friend started to send a message to someone that we don't know, mentioning her real name. There was not an issue in the end, but even just those sorts of things can happen without malintent. Friends do not have to be setting out to do something that is against the rules or that could cause a security issue or harm for your child, but it can happen. So we definitely want to make sure that their friends aren't allowed just to use their devices freely. All right, number 14. Talk about what information is okay to share and what information is not okay to share. So when it comes to cyber safety tips, this is sort of a no-brainer. We all know that we should not share personal information online. But our kids don't have those years of experience or even always think about how what they're sharing could be used against them. In our family, our kiddos cannot share where they live any more detailed than the geographic region of the country. They also cannot share their school name or their real names. Those rules are for their protection. And number 15, the final thing is to keep lines of communication open. Being able to talk with your kids about what they're doing online and any issues that they encounter is important. We want our kids to come to us with questions. We also want to talk with them about various situations and how to be safe online, because being online is something that is a reality in their world and is not going to change. We cannot pretend that it's going to go away because technology is here to stay for sure. My husband and I are doing our best to help our kids navigate technology and the internet in safe ways. And that means giving them chances to use technology and not just forbidding it. It means trusting them, but also arming them with information about how to stay safe. And it means having consequences in place that we stick to for breaking technology rules. One of the other things we do in communicating with our kids about cyber safety is to also be sure to praise them when they make the right choices. I've seen my oldest handle direct messages very well when the sender was sending something suspicious or was telling her something that required more help than she could give. And so I complimented her in her responses to highlight what she did well. Giving praise is just as important as doling out criticism and advice. So those are my 15 tips for cyber safety for parents to help you keep your family safe as you are doing things online. You can find links to the different apps and things that I mentioned in the description below on YouTube, and then also a link to the blog post, which has follow-up links as well, and all of the information written out for you so that you can more easily read it if you would like to do that as well. So I hope that helps you. I'd love to hear from you on what you do for your family that works really well for keeping everyone safe online. All right, I hope you're having a great day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.